Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters.
Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
That's right. Congratulations, everybody. This week's the one-year anniversary of the Robert Mueller investigation into Trump and Russia. What have we learned?
Witch hunt. Witch hunt. Witch hunt.
That's what it looks like to many Americans so far. More than $3 million taxpayer dollars have been spent. More than 100 people from the campaign, government, and private industry have been interviewed. 15 search warrants issued. Millions of documents turned over. And no one's been charged with any crime involving collusion, treason, or espionage. In fact, the New York Times reporting this week, a year and a half later, no public evidence has surfaced connecting Mr. Trump's advisors to the hacking or linking Mr. Trump himself to the Russian government's disruptive efforts. In that same New York Times piece, some stunning information came out. You ready? 100 days before the election, the Obama administration placed at least one spy in the Trump campaign. The Obama administration opened up an investigation into the Trump campaign without any criminal evidence. The Obama administration used secret subpoenas to obtain phone records and other documents from the Trump campaign. And the Obama administration used an unverified dossier of Russian smears paid for by Hillary to eavesdrop on the Trump campaign. The bottom line remains. Team Obama spied on the Trump campaign using wiretaps and moles with no clear justification. And now the same federal agencies who launched the investigation are stonewalling the American people. House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes had this to say.
If the campaign was somehow set up, I think that would be a problem, right? If there were somehow meetings that occurred and all this was a setup, because we have yet to see any credible evidence or intelligence that led to the opening of this investigation.
Investigative reporter and Fox News contributor Sarah Carter joins me now to break this all down. Sarah, Devin Nunes, he didn't clearly say it, but he basically made the premise that there's evidence this may have been a setup from the jump. Do you believe that?
Yes, I absolutely do believe that. Based on all the evidence that we have now, as compared to what we had over a year ago. And there's something else, Jesse. Remember, these are the same people that went after Chairman Nunes. They went after me on my breaking stories on this. Other journalists who were trying to look into this at the time come out of this. What we have discovered is a system that used our it was a counterintelligence investigation. That's very important. It allowed them, which is the DOJ and the FBI, as well as other intelligence agencies, to basically weaponize the tools in our IC community, our intelligence community, against a campaign.
That's just shocking. Just think about it and take a step back here. Because right now there has been no criminal evidence to show there was any wrongdoing to justify the wiretapping and the secret subpoenas and even the opening up of the investigation. You had the New York Times report come out this week. Crossfire Hurricane was the code name they used of this counterintelligence espionage investigation. And there was a meeting that Papadopoulos had with someone over in Great Britain. Turns out Papadopoulos, who was like 28 at the time, and Carter Page, we all know Carter Page and who he is, they're invited over to Great Britain to go to all these conferences. They get fed full of rumors about, oh, the Russians may have some of Hillary's emails, and they just pass it along over drinks to an ambassador, and then the FBI sends Peter Strzok over to London, and they cook up the investigation based on gossip.
That's exactly it. It appears on its face that they were being lured and being given information for the very purpose of then passing that information on to Ambassador Downer from Australia. And then he turned around and reports it back over to U.S. intelligence because they're very close allies of us. And then an investigation ensues. And remember, this was right after they pretty much exonerated Hillary Clinton in a criminal investigation.
And it's also right after they'd gotten their hands on this fake dossier that Hillary paid for, filled with unverified salacious information, which they used to obtain the warrant. Now, the Daily Caller has a piece and seems to be asking questions about who the spy was on the Trump campaign.
Well, this is what I know. When you're dealing with an informant, particularly somebody that, now this is how they classify him. And remember, this did not come from Chairman Nunes. This came from leaks from the DOJ, from the FBI, or from people within that close circle in England. This is where the New York Times and the Washington Post and others have gotten their information. So based on that information that they themselves leaked, based on this information, we know that there was an informant. Now, the thing is, Jesse, these types of informants don't just work on one case. They must be working on numerous cases for the CIA as well as the FBI, and they usually go by a code name. Those code names are basically the only thing that anybody at the DOJ or the FBI would ever see. They would never know the person's real name.
Right.
Only the people really close to him.
And we're not outing this guy as the spy. We're
That's right.
What I'm saying is the Daily Caller pieces together, and Sarah, we're going to continue to monitor this. It's just to put it in perspective again. The Obama administration wiretapped and had informants inside the political opponent's campaign, Donald Trump's campaign.
Exactly.
And just soak that in, everybody. I want everybody to soak that in. All right? Sarah, got to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the president himself weighing in on the anniversary of the Russian probe, tweeting, "Congratulations, America. We are now into the second year of the greatest witch hunt in American history, and there is still no collusion and no obstruction. The only collusion was that done by Democrats who were unable to win an election despite the spending far more money." But my next guest says the Mueller probe should keep going. Former Bush White House ethics lawyer Richard Painter joins me now. So, Richard, you just heard what we talked about at the top. Do you believe that the investigation in the summer of 2016 was a legitimate exercise?
Well, absolutely, yes. If there is a foreign power, particularly the Russians, threatening to interfere with an American election, we need to find out what's going on. The Russians have been up to this ever since 1917,
right?
When they supported communist movements.
But why bring the Trump campaign under? Yeah, but okay. So if I agree, if the Russians are trying to cause trouble in the election, that's fine. Let's investigate it. Why are you investigating Trump campaign officials, American citizens?
Well, it appears that some of those officials were meeting with the Russians, including Carter Page.
Okay, so,
and including the people at the Trump Tower meeting. They weren't talking about babies. We're not foolish here.
Let's take it one at a time. Who did Carter Page meet with?
I don't know. You know, Carter Page was meeting with Russian agents. That's what they believed when they asked for the warrants, the FISA warrants. And they went before a judge to get those. We all know about the Trump Tower meeting,
right. Okay, so
where there were Russian agents there as well.
Okay, let's take it one at a time. You don't know the names of the Russians that Carter Page was meeting with.
Don't.
And it's not a crime to meet with anybody from Russia because everybody would be put in prison under the Obama administration if you're meeting with Russians or Hillary's meeting with Russians. Right. The judge gave the warrant because he was given a dossier that made a lot of wild, salacious allegations which were unverified and unsubstantiated. You're not allowed to present unverified and unsubstantiated allegations to a FISA court judge. Now, let's go on to the Trump Tower meeting.
No, you're just not saying the truth there because the judge was told the truth. The judge was told the truth. There's no evidence to judge
the judge was deceived.
Well, this is why the president wants to watch Fox News all day, because this is just not the truth.
Okay, well, you don't know the truth because you haven't been following it as closely as we have here on Fox News. Let's go to the Trump Tower meeting. Tell me what you think about that meeting.
Well, there was a Russian agent there. This woman had connections. This so-called lawyer had a lot of connections with the Kremlin, and they were promised the dirt on Hillary. And you have there the top two people from the Trump campaign, the president's son and his son-in-law.
Did they deliver dirt?
They're meeting with a Russian agent.
Did the Russians deliver dirt at Trump Tower, yes or no?
I don't know what was said at that meeting. We don't know yet what was said at that meeting.
Okay, well, they just released 2,000 pages of transcripts. They just released 2,000 pages of transcripts that said that there was nothing. They interviewed about a dozen people. They interviewed a dozen people about the meeting. Everybody at the meeting was interviewed by these investigators, and those transcripts were released. No dirt was moved from Russia to the Trump Tower team. 0.
That's not true.
Oh, really? What's the truth?
Well,
were you there?
First, the dirt clearly came out in the summer of 2016. It was given to WikiLeaks. Whether or not it was delivered at that meeting, and whether or not those people are telling the truth about what happened at that meeting.
You don't know anything about that meeting. You don't know that WikiLeaks information was delivered at Trump Tower. That's never even been said before. You're the first person to ever bring that up. And a matter of fact,
Bob Mueller's job.
Hillary paid for Russian dirt on Trump and use it to get a wiretap. There was no payments made at Trump Tower, and there was no dirt. That's the difference.
Well,
I'll give you the last word, Richard.
Facts, but as I said, this is a serious investigation. The president's former campaign manager has been indicted for multiple counts of money laundering. The former national security advisor has pled guilty to crime of lying. This is the former national security advisor, top person in charge of our national security.
The people that investigated him ended up telling Comey afterwards that they didn't even believe he was lying. So,
well, he was indicted. He has pled guilty to lying. Guilty.
Never charged with treason or espionage or collusion. All right.
Pled guilty to lying.
Let that sink in. All right.
Multiple indictments, multiple guilty pleas.
Having nothing to do with collusion. All right, Richard?
Having
I appreciate
everything
you coming
to do
on.
with collusion.
All right. Thank you very much. Up next, Ann Coulter. President Trump was at a sanctuary state roundtable this week and spoke to a sheriff about the notorious Latin street gang MS-13.
There can be an MS-13 gang member I know about. If they don't reach a certain threshold, I cannot tell ICE about them.
We have people coming into the country, or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before.
President Trump clearly calling MS-13 members animals, but the mainstream media lied. This is how the AP characterized it. Quote, Trump referred to those crossing U.S. border illegally as animals and called California's sanctuary state laws as deadly. And it wasn't just the AP, it was the New York Times, the New York Daily News, C-SPAN, CNN, ABC, CBS, and NBC News. They all had to make corrections to their fake news. But even after admitting the president was calling MS-13 animals, the left came to the defense of MS-13.
It was very strange to hear a president of the United States speak in such dehumanizing terms.
Do not talk about other people as animals, and I don't care who you are or who they are. You do not become a monster by demonizing your opponent.
We're all God's children. There's a spark of divinity in every person on earth, and that we all have to recognize that as we respect the dignity and worth of every person.
The most ridiculous hypocrite was Ana Navarro at CNN, who tweeted this: Trump is in very bad company. Nazis referred to Jews as rats. Slave owners viewed slaves as subhuman animals. But a year and a half ago, she had this to say. Should Donald Trump drop out of the race? Yes, he should drop out of the human race. He is an animal. Apologies to animals. Joining me now is author and columnist Ann Coulter. Ann, take it away.
Ana Navarro wasn't the only one. Another very attractive never-Trumper, Jennifer Rubin, has called anyone who opposes amnesty for illegals beasts.
Ooh.
Inhuman beasts were you raised by wolves. It's part of a larger phenomenon. I'd love to see the left defending MS-13. They are beyond animals. Animals wouldn't do things like this.
Yeah, look at some of the things that these people do. They rip your heart out while you're alive, behead you, sex trafficking, sexual torture, cutting off limbs with machetes. Now the left is now defending these people. The same week they defended Hamas. The week before, they defended Little Rocket Man.
Well,
it's everything to make Trump look bad.
Well, there's that, and generally their love for animals, but not the nice kind of animals. But
right.
I mean, in particular here, when it comes to immigration, their position is anyone who is not an American is better than an American. They just want them coming nonstop, open it up. That's why we have to, presume that they're all valedictorians, and they're adding so much. They hate regular Americans. They hate flyover people. That is the overall point, which is why you can catch them in these preposterous hypocrisies.
Yeah, they don't like flyover Americans because they don't vote for Democrats. They want new voters.
Well, that's a
who
big
vote
part
for
of it.
Democrats.
But it's also a cultural thing. They hate this country and want to replace us. Which it's good to see them revealing it. And by the way, another one I really hate Facebook, but my tweets go there automatically. And the fascists at Facebook alerted me, told me I had to take a post down that had been a tweet. It was a retweet that referred to illegal aliens as parasites. And I said, sure, because the truth is I don't really care about Facebook, and it was a retweet. But could you tell me what the problem is? Are you not allowed to use the word parasite anytime? And they, emailed back saying, well, you're calling immigrants parasites. I said, no, it's specifically describing lawbreakers and illegal immigrants. So it really is just this anyone who isn't an American. Oh, and by the way, I don't know how to take it down because I hate Facebook and it's not user-friendly. They took it down for me. That is outside of Facebook policy to call a lawbreaker in this country sucking off the benefits that are meant for Americans. On health care alone, this country spends $18 billion every year on health care for illegal aliens. How much of a wall could we get for $18 billion?
I mean, listen, you can't even make an analogy with these people. Obviously, Trump doesn't believe that MS-13 gang members have tails and fur and hooves.
No, they're cute.
It's an analogy, people, and that's how people talk about disgusting, inhuman behavior when you slash people's faces up with a machete. I want to talk about some of these Democrats that want to impeach President Trump. Now, you guys got to see this, and I don't know if you've seen this yet. The high crimes and misdemeanors. They have a list in the impeachment resolution. This is Al Green, Representative Al Green, Democrat. These are some of the things they want to impeach President Trump for. Are you guys ready? The travel ban. Retweeting anti-Muslim videos. NFL player protests. They don't like how he came out against the kneeling. I guess he criticized Frederica Wilson, the congresswoman with the fun hat. And he said something, Puerto Ricans want everything done for them. A high crime and misdemeanor, a retweet. And a retweet.
Well, as luck would have it, the first of my smash New York Times bestsellers was titled High Crimes and Misdemeanors, and it's about the history of impeachment. So you have come to the source.
Great plug.
Obviously, none of this stuff is even close. But one thing that I'd like to correct that you hear all over TV, is that there is no definition of high crimes and misdemeanors. It's whatever a majority of the House says it is. I mean, that's true in the sense that the Constitution has no meaning, and as long as you can get 5 justices to vote for something, as we have seen liberal justices do, like for abortion and gay marriage. But that doesn't mean the Constitution doesn't have a meaning. There is a meaning. High crimes and misdemeanors goes back hundreds of years. We get it from the British. It's something less than an indictment, but it is definitely something more than we think Trump is a poopy head.
Right. I mean, they have, yeah, I mean, I think Nancy Pelosi herself said that if being a jerk was a impeachable offense, Trump would have been out a long time ago. They have the travel ban as a reason to impeach the president. Didn't the Supreme Court partially uphold most of the travel ban?
Yes, and I believe the full decision is going to come out in the next few weeks. It was a temporary ruling that we've already gotten. After, as I just indicated, some of the crazy decisions we have gotten up to, or at least 5 justices to vote for, any lawyer would be crazy to predict what the Supreme Court is going to do. But wow, I can't believe the Supreme Court is not going to uphold the travel ban.
It
is
it's
both
a slam
the
dunk.
president's constitutional authority, it is his statutory authority.
Everybody knows it. So now,
so yeah, Trump is impeachable for doing something that the Supreme Court is about to say is constitutional.
Right, the constitutional scholars at the House Democrat caucus. Just lastly, you know, impeaching the president, siding with MS-13. Is that what the Democrats are running on in the midterm elections? Really?
Well, I hope so, because at the moment the Republicans don't have much to run on. I mean, they've really got to get pedal to the metal and do something big on immigration, by which I do not mean Representative Jeff Denham's amnesty bill. Right. How many times do we have to go through this, Jesse?
Right. No, the wall has to be built, it has to be big, and it has to be beautiful. And who's going to pay for it, Ann?
Mexico, though we don't really care, just build the wall.
There it is. Ann, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next, we're about to go inside the mind of Little Rocket Man, but before we do that, I wanted to show you guys what Russians do for sport. Check this out. Dozens of bodybuilders recently participated in the country's first national slapping championship. The bizarre competition consists of several elimination rounds where 2 grown men basically just slap each other in the face with open palms until one surrenders. I don't know how actually you surrender. The game's supposed to encourage camaraderie and show patriotism. Wow. Yuri Guzman was named King of the Slappers. You know what he won? 25,000 rubles. You know how much money that is? Just about $400. Here is former White House strategist Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Dr. Gorka, what are these Russians doing?
I don't know, but I want a rematch, and I want it between Chris Cuomo and Anderson Cooper to see whether they can slap some sense into each other.
That's how they fight anyway. They with open fists over there at CNN. I love, you know, something about this, just, I like it. I mean, only in Russia would grown men just slap each other in the face like that for prize money. There's something intriguing about that. You think this will ever make its way to America?
It's definitely different, but I'm not holding my breath, Jesse.
I mean, we can't even call MS-13 animals, and they're slapping each other silly for prize money. It's a different world over there in Mother Russia. So,
can I just say on that comment, what a week for the Democrats. They started by backing Hamas terrorists, and they end it by taking the side of MS-13. I mean, I just can't wait till November.
You know what? Let's just give the Democrats a hand. They, you know, it's a heck of a week. It's a heck of a week when you're siding with terrorists against your own president. But I'm not surprised because, you know, they've sided with Syrian refugees over U.S. veterans. They've sided with illegal immigrants over factory workers here in this country. It's time and time again, they put America below the rest of the world.
I'm just waiting for when Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters talks about the divine spark and the inherent dignity of President Trump. That's what I'm waiting for.
Right, yes. She actually said there's this divine spark of God in each MS-13 gangbanger as they slice someone's face open with a switchblade. I mean, it doesn't even occur to her that she might want to politically back away from those people. But you know what? I love that Nancy Pelosi is House Minority Leader. We should keep her there.
Definitely.
All right, let's go on to North Korea, because I wanted to hear your insight into the mind of Little Rocket Man. We all know that this week he started flirting with pulling out of the Singapore summit because of the war games that we were undertaking with our South Korean allies. What do you think's going on here in his head?
Well, I unfortunately, it looks as if they're returning to their old ways, their old shell games. They're playing the back and forth. I was skeptical from the get-go. I said this deal has about a 5% chance of going through. It was going incredibly thanks to Mike Pompeo, with the 3 hostages returned without a pallet of cash, with the dismantling of certain sites. But maybe they're reverting to type. Allegedly, Dennis Rodman gave Lil' Kim a copy of The Art of the Deal, but I'm not sure he's read it all, because in Chapter 2, the president wrote very clearly, never be so invested in a deal that you're not ready to walk away from it at any point. And guess what? This is the wrong president to test, and he will walk away from the deal if they start playing games again.
Right. He'll walk away, and then he'll ratchet up the sanctions and start squeezing him even more drastically. Right now, we're probably at about a 3. We still have a lot more room to go in terms of a 10. We got the naval blockade over the fuel vessels. They've cut off all access to capital through the banking institutions. So they're in deep trouble. I do believe the summit will still go on. Do you believe it will or not?
I think he's so keen. I mean, he's desperate. All these world leaders want to have that moment of glory with that photo op with the most powerful man in the world. So I think, against his acting to type, he will go to Singapore on the 12th, and he will want to be seen with our president. But whether it leads to the denuclearization of the peninsula and no more nuclear testing, no more ballistic missile launches, it's a dictatorship, Jesse. They lie. That's what they do, whether it's Khrushchev in '62 with Cuban Missile Crisis, whether it's Hitler in 1938 in Munich saying, oh, I'm not going to invade anybody. Dictatorships lie.
They do. And it's so funny to hear the Democrats applauding Little Rocket Man for owning President Trump and punking him into this meeting. Again, when it comes to Hamas, MS-13, or even a dictator, always siding against the American president. Dr. Gorka, don't slap anybody this weekend, all right? Keep your hands to yourself.
I'll try to. Thanks, Jesse.
Up next, Donald Trump Jr.
Don't stop.